Now they're being asked to help people to, it's crazy, help people to plan their death party.
Oh.
Right? Now this is a whole new industry of, so they're taking palliative care nurses and professionals and getting them to, help with what kind of a death party do you want to have, what kind of a theme do you want to have, what do you want to eat, what do you want to, what kind of music do you want to play, right?
Weird.
And the culmination is the death itself, right? The intravenous, the IV, which takes 20 minutes and the person dies. But this whole, it's almost like this ritual now of the, of this culmination of being put to death.
This is Dan Dix here reporting for Press for Truth. We're here in beautiful Delta, British Columbia, just out front of the Irene Thomas Hospice, and I'm joined by the president of the board, Angelina Ireland. Now, Angelina, you guys, as I understand it, are right now engaged in a battle with the government that is literally dealing with saving people's lives. What can you tell us about what you're currently dealing with here at hospice?
Right. Well, here at the Delta Hospice Society, we are a hospice and palliative care facility. And we have been operating for 25 years. And we have had the Irene Thomas Hospice, which is behind me, open for 10 years. And 10 years ago, the province of British Columbia wanted to be our partner because we're a hospice and palliative care facility. Today, they no longer want to be our partner because we are a hospice and palliative care facility.
So what has changed in the relationship?
Well, the introduction of medical assistance in dying, the euthanasia law that has come into Canada, is the difference in our relationship now. Because we're a hospice and palliative care facility, we do not hasten death, so we do not provide the procedure called MAID. And that has been the sticking point with Fraser Health for the last couple of years. And we take our position because we follow the medical discipline of hospice and palliative care. It's a 50-year discipline. It came from a movement from Dame Cicely Saunders out of the UK, the modern sort of mother of palliative care. And even in Canada, it has a great tradition. Our father of palliative care comes from McGill University. His name is Dr. Balfour Mount. So over these last 5 decades, it has been a medicine that has, great respect. It covers total pain for a patient in their last days. So not only physical pain, but emotional, psychological, social, and it encompasses also their families. So we're very proud of the work that we've done, and we feel that it's important to keep it respected in Canada because truly it is a national treasure. And so what we're seeing in British Columbia today is basically a destruction of a national treasure. And the directive that we were given that we have to provide this MAID or we'll have our funding taken away from us is basically taking hospice and palliative care medicine back 50 years.
It's almost like financially holding you hostage to force you to have to kill people, right?
Well, exactly. I mean, that's how we feel. For us, it's living with dignity here, right? And we're concerned about providing the best possible comfort for our patients with pain management and symptom management in their final days. And in those days, we allow that time for people to celebrate, to reconcile, right, to find peace in terms of what they're approaching. And we also feel that that this work that we have done for the last 25 years is incredibly important, and that most people in this country want access to hospice and palliative care. Where only a very small percentage actually want access to MAID. But we haven't any issue with MAID, in fact, because we've never said that we are for it or against it. All we're saying is that that's not the service that we provide. And that there's a lot of access here in Delta for MAID if people want to have it. They can have it at home. They can have it at the Delta Hospital, which is basically just literally 1 minute here. You can see it out of the window, right? So you can have it in a park. You could have it anywhere. But there's only a very few beds, palliative care beds in Delta, and they're here, and we're protecting those.
Right. So the government is essentially trying to force this upon you. So what has been your response at this point? Where are we at in the in whether or not you're going to have to do this or not?
Well, now the policy of the government is that if you take more than 50% of government funding, then you have to provide that service. And what we have said is that our total palliative care program is actually less than 50%. It's about 48% funded by the government. So therefore, we thought we were under that threshold and we wouldn't have to worry about this. But then they came back to us and said, oh, no, it's the beds that we care about, only the beds, in which case 100% or almost 100% of our beds are funded by the provincial government. So our resolution to that, because we do want to work with them, is that to take some of our funding, take 50% of our funding off of the beds. So we'll be under that threshold again, so that we can opt out of the having to provide that provision of MAID. And our proposal was ignored, and they said they had no interest in pursuing that with us.
So you essentially were willing to give up 50% of the funding, just cut it and say, you know what, keep the money and just allow us to continue. And they haven't responded?
They have responded and said, no, that's not acceptable. They have no interest in having that kind of a relationship with us. So now where we find ourselves is they have told us that our contract is canceled. They no longer want to partner with us. And, as far as we're concerned, that's fine. But then allow us to find another partner to do the work that we're doing. Sure. But they said, no, not only do we not want to be your partner, but you're not even allowed to be a hospice anymore. And because you're not going to be a hospice anymore, you will therefore default on your lease. In which case, the government will come and take over your assets.
Oh my God. This is like thuggish behavior. And so if you wanted to say, how about you keep 100% of your money, and you know what, we'll just partner up elsewhere. Yes. They're not going to allow you to do that?
They will not allow it, no. This is stone cold communism. You have defied the government, you are no longer allowed to exist, and they will now take your assets.
I thought we lived in a country where we operated under a free market. This sounds like it's kind of crony capitalism, I suppose, where they're only kind of setting up their insider buddies, and people who are doing good, honest work are just being shut out, right?
Well, we are. That's the position that we're in. We would like to just find another partner, honestly. And we believe that there are other agencies out there who, believe in the kind of work that we do, that we believe there are people that believe in the kind of work that we do. And we believe also that the dying have a right to sanctuary. And that if they do not want to be next to somebody who's being killed, they don't have to. Because that is choice. That is true choice. And even we say that the law is actually on our side, because the government has told us it's the law that you have to provide MAID. But in fact, that's just a policy. That's not the law. The law in Canada, when it was changed to provide medical assistance in dying, basically said that it was an amendment to the criminal code, okay? That doctors and nurses would not be charged with murder if they helped somebody commit suicide or they performed euthanasia. And that was the issue. It was never that an institution or an individual be forced to provide euthanasia to anyone. It's a person's choice to have it, as long as they have access someplace where they can get it. That's all the law talked about, right? That's the Carter case, right? That's all it talked about. And it stopped very short of having to push and compel any individual or organization against their conscience to have to do it.
This is just about as sinister as it can get. To be honest, it may be a blessing in disguise that they don't want to work with you anymore, because it's probably best to not, everything they get their hands in, they mess up, except for when it comes to killing people. This is what the government is really actually efficient at. They're responsible for more deaths than anything. Really, when you look back at the 20th century and the world wars, governments are the biggest cause of death. So really getting out of a partnership with them is probably not such a bad thing. But how do we move towards finding the right partners? And how can maybe viewers of this channel and this video help you find the right people to partner up with so that we can continue to save lives?
You know, it's not about, we don't think that we'll have a problem finding a partner. The problem is that the government will not allow us. So now we are basically been kicked out of the hospice and palliative care service. This is the issue. This is what should concern every person. And not only are we kicked out, but you see these beautiful buildings that we fundraised for. We fundraised $9 million to build this supportive care center where we are sitting today, to build the hospice that you see behind us. That belongs to a private society. And to think that the government can then decide they'll just appropriate it should be something that gives people in this country pause. That is something that is completely unacceptable. You know, we are happy to move on and find another partner so we can continue the work that we're doing, which is incredibly important. But at the moment, we're being told that that's not possible.
Right. So what do you think you're going to do? I mean, maybe there's some sort of workaround. Maybe you can launch something new and kind of rebrand and just say, okay, we're not doing that anymore. But it's basically the same thing under a new facility, new name, new brand. But maybe they'll try to shut that down too. I mean, what are some of the steps that you have to try to push back against this? Well,
you know, we are speaking with our lawyers at this point. We have to go completely researching into what we can do. It seems a no-brainer that it's completely unfair, right? That this should never be allowed to happen. That this is not what the Supreme Court ruled on. This is a directive by a government agency and a minister of health that has taken precious time out of his schedule to have a press conference, to go after a tiny little 10-bed hospice, and basically put a gun against a flea. And I say, why? When we have a pandemic, COVID-19 pandemic, why would the Ministry of Health even spend any time trying to destroy an organization that has only spent the last couple of decades trying to help people? So, these are interesting questions in a very interesting time that, people need to start thinking about.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I'm sure this is probably going to be a bit of a shock to people watching this saying, oh my God, I can't believe the government is going to these lengths to literally kill people, forcing you guys to have to do that. And if you don't want to play along, they're just going to shut you down. That's just absolutely shocking. So how can people help you guys? I mean, I'm sure, lawyers cost a lot of money, and this is going to be a lengthy battle, I'm sure. I mean, you guys have a lot invested in this place and in this whole thing. What are some ways that people can support this really important cause?
I think that they need to get in touch with the government, the Ministry of Health, the Fraser Health Authority, and to just express their outrage that this is not only unfair, it's unconscionable. That the conscience rights of an organization, of people, would be trampled on. I think that's the ultimate question here. But we will need people to step up. We need people to talk about it. We need people to express and basically to walk their convictions now, because the story's not getting out. Right? Nobody really has any idea. Yeah. They may have heard that the Delta Hospice Society's funding was cut, that their contract was canceled, but they don't necessarily know the whole story. And thank you so much, for at least letting people be aware of what's happening here.
Yeah, well, I felt it was incredibly important to get this out there, and I think it's really important for the viewers of this channel to help us spread this information by liking the video, leaving comments. It helps with the algorithms, and share it with your friends and family all across your Twitter and your Facebook. Just get it out there, let people know that this is indeed going on, and then try to get involved. You can do that by writing the letter government, speak to the health minister, as you said, in your area, and let them know you're not happy with this. But lastly, if people do want to financially support you, or maybe even contact you directly to say, hey, I'm actually interested in being a partner, or I'm interested, I got some big funding, we can help you guys, how can they get a hold of you?
You can call me, 778 512-8088. I'll give you the address, I'll give you the email. You can send us a donation. If we do decide that it's feasible to mount some kind of a legal challenge, it takes money. We are a small, not-for-profit organization, and quite frankly, the government has unlimited resources. So, the injustice here, it's one thing to say this is wrong. It's quite another to try to fight it. So, that's what I'm asking people. Give me a call. Delta Hospice Society, deltahospice.org is the website. Go ahead and take a look and read about what we've done in this community. This is a jewel. You can see how beautiful it is, hey, and how much we have cared for people and their families. And, we want to continue to do that. And you know exactly what's going to happen if the government walks in here. They'll just wreck it. They wreck everything. I mean, honestly, right? It's private people and private individuals that have done the most for this kind of treatment over the years. So. Yeah.
Well, this is exactly why we need to support these private businesses that are doing the right thing here, especially when they're going up against a behemoth like the government. Once again, I strongly encourage people to check the links in the description. We'll have the phone number in there as well. Any final thoughts or last words for the viewers at home on, just the seriousness of this situation, really moving forward?
It is. We've been given 1 year in order to transition, basically, I guess to get out. I guess ultimately that's what that was about. But, we haven't done anything wrong. We are not in breach of our contract with the government. But we have just been told that they no longer want to deal with us. They don't want to fight with us. They just want us to go away. And I think it's really important to show that ordinary people are not going to go away, right? When something is so unjust, that all we're trying to do is protect. We're trying to protect the most vulnerable people, and we're not going to go away. And we need support in order to challenge this kind of tyranny.
Yeah, the government operates in tyrannical matters, and it often happens incrementally. And if we don't stop the incremental pushes towards all-out tyranny, it's just going to come upon us, just. Like crazy, so we have to push back against this at every step of the way, and this is one of the big ones. This is a big step towards the wrong direction.
I'll just tell you also, we have support all over the country, all over Canada. All of the hospice and palliative care physicians in Canada support our position because they know that this kind of medicine does not hasten death. So they're behind us. We have people in the United States now that are behind us. We just got I got a wonderful letter from Italy, from Portugal, from the Czech Republic. I mean, people around the world want to stand up for hospice and palliative care, and because it is a treasure. It is a treasure of humanity, and that's what we're really fighting for now. Yeah. Well,
you're literally saving souls. It's not just the old people who are dying, but it's the people who are involved with the murdering of these people who may have to answer for that as well at some point in time. So really, it's kind of fighting for the rights of everyone here. So once again, I strongly encourage everybody to check out the links in the description. Angelina, thanks so much for breaking this down for us today.
Thank you so much for coming over here and talking to me. Appreciate it.
We all want truth. The truth will set you free.